Oh boy, everyone, I've been waiting for a long time just to get to this episode. Hello, everyone, welcome back to the Super Smash Crew podcast, and I'm your host, AJ, and today it's gonna be a real doozy. Let's just start off with a couple of things first. First of all, I know I'm using royalty free music, but the reason why is because I'm now on Spotify, so I'm kind of a little nervous about what gaming music that I could use and what couldn't. So instead of using Skullgirls music, I used some royalty free jazz music, mainly because Skullgirls is one of the only few games that comes to mind that actually has an official soundtrack, and it's even on vinyl. And if something is on vinyl, you know damn well that's on Spotify's algorithm. Also, you're gonna have to excuse me, my voice is, I don't know, a little iffy. I probably strained it a couple of days ago, but the point is, I want to get this episode done by Thanksgiving, so that's why we're here. So, enough talk, let's just get right into it. First thing I gotta mention is what's the Sub-Zero organization? So this is kind of interesting because Shared Verses consisted of games, movies, and TV shows, but it's also consisted of other people's original creations. Of course, I need to have permission from the actual author and the artists in order for me to actually use their characters, but for this particular case, I was able to use all of his characters. So this is gonna be a plug time. If you're interested in checking out like transformations on girls, I highly recommend you guys check out Sub-Zero's DeviantArt account. Even though he doesn't make the art himself, he has a lot of commissions, and he always has tons of events for his characters. Whether it be character showcases, Halloween specials, Christmas specials, he's got it all. If you're into that stuff, hey, go for it, man. So, what about Sharedverse? In late 2016, there was the Blood of Sub-Zero storyline, which is a part of Units. Basically, well, in this case, in Season 1 standards, it's basically your simple revenge story of a person who just wants to get rid of a curse, and by doing so, she's got to kill everyone from the Sub-Zero organization. Now, when it comes to this organization, 95% of them are women, and they all have different transformations, whether it be turning into werewolves, werejackals, having a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality, you name it, they have pretty much anything. And if you do check out Sub-Zero's DeviantArt account, most of it is mature, so just watch out for that. So by the end of 2016, I was fairly familiar with the organization, and after the disaster that was Super Smash Lesbians the 1 year anniversary, I wanted to do another parody series, but I didn't want to do Smash again. This time, I wanted to do a parody series on the 2D fighting game called Skullgirls, and I really highly recommend you guys check that game out. It's on iOS, even though it's a gacha game, it still is a pretty fun fighting game, especially for iOS or Android. It's even on modern consoles too, so if you want to play that, go ahead. It's a really good fighting game. But I wanted to do it on that, but instead of using lesbians, I decided to use members of the Sub-Zero organization to play the roles for my Skullgirls parody series, which I conveniently named Stuff Girls. And much like Super Smash Lesbians from Super Smash Crew, I reduced the character roster from like around 40 people in SSL to 15, maybe 16 in Stuff Girls. And it turned out pretty well, even though most of the members of the organization were against me, since, I was working with the person that was on that revenge quest, so they weren't really trustworthy with me. But it's fine. After all, I kicked their asses regardless, so they kind of knew that they had to watch out for their asses. So everything was going well until, of course, the final moments of the event, where it turns out the real double from Skullgirls found out about the event, and she wanted to raid it. And the person that was playing Double's role in Stuff Girls was a woman named Starla, and I'll get back to her in a minute. She's very important to the story. You'll just have to see. Thankfully, I was able to convince Double not to be a murderous psychopath. Basically, Double's basically if the Thing was a nun. Just this grotesque monster that could take the shape of literally anybody. But it turns out she has her own sob story about grieving over the death of her daughters from like 10,000 years ago. And I decided to help her out because I'm a nice person. And Double eventually became a member of Stuff Girls and then later Super Smash Lesbians when that came out. And she also became like the secondary character in another storyline called Stand Up, which is also another storyline, a part of the Units meta storyline. I guess that's what I'm gonna call it. So even though Stuff Girls wasn't as successful as Super Smash Lesbians, it did have a little fan base, especially since I plugged in Sub-Zero's DeviantArt account in that, so it all worked out. And besides, it was one of the only few times where a parody series event actually ended off with a happy ending. So now that we have Suff Girls and Super Smash Lesbians, it only makes sense we gotta have a crossover. So that's what we did. Super Smash Lesbians meets Suff Girls. Even though Smash is your 3D party game, even though it's technically a fighting game, but it's more like a competitive party fighting game, whatever you will, and Skullgirls is your traditional 2D fighting game, how's that going to work for the game adaptation? Well, for game adaptation, I made 2 different game modes, your Smash mode and your Skull mode. Smash mode obviously being for Smash Brothers style of gameplay, and Skull mode, your obvious, 2D traditional fighting game gameplay. The rest of the event was pretty fine. Once again, there weren't really any problems, and I do gotta bring this up. Super Smash Lesbians, the 1-year anniversary, Suff Girls, and Super Smash Lesbians meets Suff Girls, all of these 3 events, all of which happened in the span of a month. Literally. It was actually 2 weeks after the 1-year anniversary for Suff Girls, and then the week after, it was the crossover. So yeah, these 3 events all came out in the span of a month. It's crazy. And because all these events pretty much came out week after week, the idea came to me. Why not make a Super Smash Lesbians event, but make it a series, much akin to Super Smash Crew? Called it Super Smash Lesbians the Series. Just gotta clarify that. Well, technically speaking, that was the original concept. You see, Super Smash Lesbians the Series didn't first premiere until like April after I transferred high schools because I was getting bullied over there. And with a new high school, I got some new ideas. Of course, one of those being making a series. However, the first episode of Super Smash Lesbians the Series was the only episode of the series, and we'll get to that in a minute. But before we get to that, I gotta talk about something important. We gotta talk about Starla the Sensational. She's basically the mascot for Sub-Zero's DeviantArt account, and because of that, she basically gets dibs on pretty much everything. Honestly, there isn't that much to talk about Super Smash Lesbians meets Suff Girls, mainly because there weren't that many problems or incidents, so you could basically tell that this event wasn't really as successful as the others. Basically, Starla is basically the mascot of Sub-Zero's DeviantArt account, and because of that, she just gets dibs on pretty much everything. She always hosts all the Christmas specials, all the Halloween events, all the Valentine's Day events, even all the character events. She even has her own talk show where she interviews the other members of the organization. It's nuts. And of course, now that this is Super Smash Lesbians and Suff Girls being in one show, movie, whatever the fuck you want to call it at this point, I don't even care anymore. Of course, she's got to make it big. She's got to make it all about herself. This pink-haired elf magician lady pretty much hijacks all of Super Smash Lesbians the series. And of course, it's inevitable we gotta talk about why Super Smash Lesbians the series failed. Since the very beginning of Super Smash Lesbians, even in Super Smash Crew to an extent, the set for the show has always been open. Meaning, literally anybody can walk on the set and become an official member of the show and have their own character be in the game adaptation. So when Super Smash Lesbians the series came out, pretty much it had to be at the worst possible time ever. Because other characters from other different storylines that were going on in Sharedverse, they started to go on the set and they started to become characters themselves. Oh, what's this? Oh, you have the Revenants, the main villains from Coral Knights. Oh, they're gonna be in the game now because they stepped on the set. Oh, what's this? Universal. They want to promote their new Mummy movie. Oh, I guess Ahmed has to be on the show as well. Oh, what's this? One of my friends from another storyline named Donna. Oh, she stepped on the set by accident, so she's a character now. Even her friend named Klena. Oh, she's also a character now. And it went on and on and on throughout the entire night. I was done. I didn't want to do this stupid show anymore. The show that I created myself. I didn't want to do it anymore. Thankfully, I got a miracle. Some sort of heavenly praise by the least sensible person ever. That's right, fucking Starla. You see, we were also making the game adaptation for this series as well. And because it was only for one event, we had to add in a whole bunch of filler stuff just to make the game adaptation story mode have some sort of a resemblance of a series that have never happened. And so when it came to finally canceling Super Smash Lesbians for good this time, I really mean it this time, Starla decided, you know what? For the game adaptation, in order for us to never make another Super Smash Lesbians show ever again, let's just kill everyone and claim me to be the winner of everything. And so that's what we did. In the game's adaptation, the final episode is basically the third impact from End of Evangelion, where everyone turns into Orange Tango or Fangana, whatever the hell it's called. I always forget. And Starla goes through like a fucking mind warp, and she comes out on top. Literally the last man standing. She won! Victory Royale! #1 in Fortnite! It's over! We're done with this stupid series for good! And that's where it ended. And then I was done. Done. I didn't want to do it anymore. I'm done with the stupid show. So I spent the rest of my summer just enjoying life, not having to worry about Super Smash Lesbians. But by September, I get a horrifying thought. A terrible revelation, if you will. AJ, is Super Smash Lesbians on Switch? Immediately, I just realized, holy shit! I didn't put any of the game adaptations on the Nintendo Switch. And I was playing the Switch pretty much throughout the entire summer of 2017. I had to do it. I had to bring this series back one more time just so I could get the game adaptation for Switch. And besides, at this point, Nintendo hasn't even released a Smash game on Switch yet. So basically, in shared verse, I could have beaten them to the punch, saying, yeah, we have Super Smash Lesbians on the Switch before Nintendo released their Smash game. Sure, at the time, nobody knew that Nintendo was making a Smash game on Switch, but they already had Mario Kart, and they already had a bunch of Wii U games that were starting to get ported onto the Switch. So, logically, Smash would have been next. So in shared verse, I decided, you know what, I'm going to beat them to the punch. I'm going to put one of the game adaptations of my series on Switch. The final, for real this time, I swear to God, guys, this is the final Super Smash Lesbians event ever. It's called Super Smash Lesbians the Series for Nintendo Switch. Other consoles would have gotten this expansion as well, called the Switch It Up expansion for Xbox and PlayStation. So with this new expansion, Blood of Sub-Zero's was also getting a second season at the time, which gave all of the girls a second monster form, a Midland form, if you will. So that would have been like a good promotion, having all the characters that are in Seth Girls' character roster, give them their new Midland forms, since it's technically the same characters, just playing the Skullgirls roles. So why not? But in addition, the story got a huge expansion. So after Starla became #1 in the whole world, however, she still wasn't the only person alive, because right next to her was Nozomi. And if you're wondering how the hell she's still alive from the 1-year anniversary, in a previous storyline in between the 1-year anniversary and Super Smash Lesbians the series, she was revived, and she was also given the Chronos Sword, which basically, as the name suggests, could basically just reverse time or just toy with it. So she went back in time and warned everybody about Starla's ultimate plan of killing everyone. Of course, that was in the game adaptation. What really went on in the event was, of course, the finale of Blood of Sub-Zero's 2, where Starla had the injection that turned all of her other organization members into giving them a second monster form called Midland forms. And she also recruited a new member called Savage Knight. And this guy, he's fucking horny as shit. He was so horny that he even raped Rosalina in Blood of Sub-Zero Season 2, which pretty much gave Rosalina a whole B plot of getting revenge on Savage Knight and killing Starla once and for all. So the finale of Blood of Sub-Zero Season 2 also took place on the event of Super Smash Lesbians the series for Nintendo Switch. Savage Knight was on the set, so that automatically made him a member of Super Smash Lesbians, and Rosalina found out about this, kicked the shit out of him, and eventually killed him, but found out where Starla's location was. She was at the Fountain of Dreams. The two basically just bit the absolute living shit out of each other. However, over on the Super Smash Lesbians set, we had Samus in her Master Chef mech one more time fighting this series Mario. But she got a little extra help, because this Mario, I'm not going to tell you who it is. I thought about this, so for the Christmas special, I'm going to go over every single character from Super Smash Crew, Super Smash Lesbians, Seph Girls, and even in Ultimate. That's what I'm going to do with the Christmas special, so just sit tight afterwards. She was paired up with Nami, the original Mario from Super Smash Crew. So we had two Marios finally teaming up and taking down the ultimate evil of Super Smash Lesbians. And honestly, it worked out pretty well. After all, I wasn't there because I got my ass handed to me by Starla in Blood F-Zero's 2 right before Rosalina came in and kicked the shit out of her. And technically speaking, Nami wasn't even really there. She used her Mirage tempo just to pretend that she was actually on the set and helped out SSL's Mario. So technically speaking, Nami was the first spirit in a Smash game before Smash Ultimate. It's weird. But yes, like I said, in the end, Rosalina defeated Starla once and for all. Samus could finally be left alone, that she didn't have to do another Super Smash Lesbians event ever again. And that was the end of Super Smash Lesbians, the entire franchise. It's over. And throughout all of 2018, I didn't have to worry about another event. Starla finally behaved herself when she was eventually released from Hell's prison. Thank God. That's all I gotta say. Thank God. However, because there is a fourth episode that I gotta do for my podcast's class, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate came out, and of course, somebody that I really wanted to be in the game is a Mii costume, well, you'll have to wait for the next episode. Until then, I'm AJ. Please follow me on Spotify, because I finally got it to work. I'm on Twitter at AJ Smashing. If you want to check out my DeviantArt, AJ Smashing, as well. Even though my art's shitty, for once, I'm just going to finally plug it in, because why not? Also, if you're interested, check out F-Zero's DeviantArt. It's pretty whack, but of course, you're going to need mature content, because there's a lot of titties. And that's it. I'm AJ, and I'll see you next time. And happy Thanksgiving, too, by the way. The problem was, with all these new third-party characters, was that they weren't even playing any of the Smash roles. None of them were playing any of the Smash roles that didn't even have a role for Super Smash Lesbians. So, we still didn't even have somebody playing Duck Hunt. We still didn't have somebody playing Rob. We didn't have somebody playing Bowser Jr. or the other Koopalings. We had all these characters that weren't even getting proper character roles for Super Smash Lesbians, and we had a whole bunch of third-party characters that didn't even matter because they were just playing themselves.